So last week was a very interesting week in the entertainment industry, and I think you can kind of say it's the first signs of fatigue with the strikes happening right now and signs that show that maybe the studios are getting a little desperate. It all stemmed from Drew Barrymore announcing that she was going to return to her talk show while the strikes are still going on, which then opened up the doors for other shows to announce their returns like The Talk, Bill Maher, even Jennifer Hudson's show said she was going to return. And this started a roller coaster ride of a week for Drew Barrymore, when tons and tons of backlash flooded the internet, which led to an explanation/apology video, and then a retraction, and then the canceling of returning to her show airing this week. So allow me to kind of recap all the events that has transpired from last week until now, and my opinions on whether or not Drew Barrymore is truly at fault here, or did she really have good intentions with it all. So you know the topic, let's talk. Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Make sure to check out the link in the description of this episode or scan the QR code you see on the screen right now and find out how you can get unlimited data for only $15 a month. Save a whole ton of money on your monthly cell phone bill without sacrificing any of the quality. No contracts to worry about, you can cancel anytime, and the transferring process is so easy. You can keep your phone number or get a new one. Need a new phone? They got you covered as well. Over a year ago, I switched from Verizon without any hesitation, and it's not just because I found Ryan Reynolds to be a sexy mother. Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Mint Mobile, but I guarantee you if you give Mint Mobile a shot, you'll understand why I made that switch, and you too will be a happy Mint Mobile customer. So once again, check out Mint Mobile, link in the description of this episode or QR code on your screen. Check them out. So it's kind of crazy to think that the strikes have been going on for as long as they've been going on for now. WGA, their strike started back on May 2nd, and SAG started their strike on July 14th. And ever since the writers went on strike, I think the one form of media that really suffered the most was daytime and late night TV. So all of your daytime shows that really heavily relied on writers, and your late night TV shows like Kimmel, Fallon, all haven't been on the air since the whole thing started. When you think about it, it feels weird that we haven't had a live SNL for a very long time. So it's surprised and shocked a lot of people when Drew Barrymore herself announced on her Instagram account that she has decided to return to her talk show. So as you could see here, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Drew Barrymore announces talk show return amid strike, says it will comply with WGA and SAG strike rules. "Quote unquote, I own this choice." The article continues to say, in a lengthy Instagram post, Drew Barrymore announced that her daytime talk show will begin its 4th season soon, in accordance with the rules of the Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA Strikes. However, a spokesperson for the Writers Guild told a Hollywood Reporter that Drew is a struck show, and union members are set to picket outside the Barrymore studios Monday and Tuesday in New York City. Quote, "It has stayed off the air since the strike began on May 2nd, but has now unfortunately decided to return without its writers," the spokesperson said in the statement. "The Guild has and will continue to picket any struck show that continues production for the duration of the strike." Drew plans to premiere its 4th season September 18th. It's understood that Drew is a signatory to WGA and that the show will be produced without literary material, similar to ABC's View. So basically what that means is that she's not going to be having any writers on set when her production was going to restart. Now, there were rumors and people were speculating that maybe they were planning to write non-union writers, but it sounds more like she was planning to go really do a more free-flowing type of show. Most of it, I'm sure, was going to be ad-lib, so I'm not even sure how good of a show that would be, but that's basically what was going to happen. The article continues to say that Barrymore began her Instagram post by referring to her decision to walk away from hosting the MTV Film and TV Awards in May in solidarity with the writers who had just gone on strike. It had the direct conflict with what the strike was dealing with, which was studios, streamers, film, and television, she wrote in the post and caption. "It was also in the first week of the strike, and so I did what I thought was the appropriate thing at the time to stand in solidarity with the writers." She pointed out that season 3 of her show had wrapped prior to the strike, so they never had to shut it down. But she is making another conscious choice now to return to work amid both the writers writers and actors strikes because the show is quote-unquote bigger than just me. She continues to say, I own this choice. We are in compliance with not discussing or promoting film and television that is struck of any kind. We launched live in a global pandemic. Our show was built for sensitive times and has only functioned through what the real world is going through in real time. The article continues to say that the host explained her desire to return to the talk show stemmed from wanting to demonstrate the value of the work writers do and provide entertainment for viewers at a difficult time. Quote, I want to be there to provide what writers do so well, which is a way to bring us together or help us make sense of the human experience, she concluded. I hope for a result for everyone as soon as possible. We have navigated difficult times since we first came on air, and so I take a step forward to start season 4 once again with an astute humility. So you could see that Drew is kind of like defending her choice here because she feels like in her heart she's doing something that is for the betterment of the viewers, of the audience, right? But you could also understand why there was a huge amount of backlash from not only the unions, but for people within those unions in wondering why she's decided to make such a choice. And yes, there has been some conflict since the strikes began. Like, for example, some interim agreements were made with some independent studios to continue filming and their productions because they weren't strict members of the AMPTP, which is the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, basically the union that pretty much represents the studios that are in conflict with the writers and actors at this time. When I first read this, I said to myself, wow, this is really confusing why she decided to make a choice like this. I don't know, Drew has had a very interesting, I guess you could say, couple of months. I remember there was a time back in August when she was like rushed off stage in New York during a certain event they were having. In fact, I have the Hollywood Reporter article opened up here just to recap. Drew Barrymore rushed off stage at New York's 92nd Street Y following an unsettling crowd disruption. Venue security escorted a man out of the Upper East Side event space Monday night after he approached the stage and told the actress and talk show host, "You know who I am. I need to see you at some point while I'm in New York." Very scary stuff. And I remember watching a video of this too. And if I have it, I'll play some of it while I'm talking about it. But basically, she had a stalker situation, right? Someone who's been bothering her for a while. And, you know, she kind of encountered something like this. But Drew is also not someone who is new to some controversies and interesting choices she's made during her career and all that. I don't need to go back and explain a lot of the stuff that Drew has been involved in ever since she was a child actor, but she's always found her way to kind of be in positive and negative views within the industry. But I think overall, a lot of people really love Drew Barrymore, and she has a lot of great relationships with a lot of people, especially those that she's worked with and those she considers as colleagues within the industry. I'll never forget there was this one time, one of those amazing, unique New York experiences where I bumped into Drew Barrymore on the New York City subway. She was rushing to catch the train, so I held the door open for her. She was with her friend, and she was so thankful and, you know, like, oh, thank you so much. And she was very bubbly and all that. And this was a long time ago, so we're dealing with a kind of a more younger Drew Barrymore. The one thing I'll never forget is that she had a Ziploc bag with all of her makeup and stuff in there. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. But she is very sweet. And, you know, again, she has that bubbly personality that a lot of people can really get charmed by. So when you hear her say stuff like this, you tend to believe what she's saying and it's coming from the heart. But at the same time, let's face it, Drew is a performer. And I think to a certain aspect, Drew also likes the attention. So I think knowing that how serious she is about her talk show, I am pretty sure she's like, I really want to get back out there and I really want to start entertaining the audience who misses me and I miss them and all that good stuff. But I also do think the studios got to her as well and saying, hey, look, Drew, you know, I don't know what to tell you, but if we cannot resume and continue with your new season, then there's a good possibility that we're going to have to cancel it indefinitely and you may never have a chance to come back. So it's possible that they probably put Drew up against the wall and saying something needs to be done now, you know, to salvage her show. And of course, knowing that Drew loves this show so much, she probably decided to make this decision and move forward with it with the intentions that she was still going to abide by all the union rules for the strikes happening now, even though she is a member of SAG, this was still going to be a negative message going out there if this was to continue. And of course, the internet let her know about that immediately and very harshly. But like I said before, this kind of started a domino effect where now we started getting notifications and word that other daytime talk shows were planning to return. Shows like The Talk and Bill Maher and Jennifer Hudson's show all announced that they were also going to be returning around the same time that Drew Barrymore's talk show was going to come back on air. So of course this created more of a tizzy. The unions were up in arms and strikes and picketing were all being planned out. And then when production started last week, people were picketing outside of the studios of the Drew Barrymore show. And unfortunately, that also made headlines. Going back here to the Hollywood Reporter, the Drew Barrymore show audience members say they were kicked out for Writers Guild support amid picket. The article says that 2 audience members who had signed up for free tickets to the taping were handed WGA pins by picketers as they walked in the door and say they were asked to leave before the show began because they were wearing the pins. So of course this caused a whole ton of controversy, and a lot of people again were just irate and furious about it all. So it kind of makes it feel like even though Drew said what she was doing, she doesn't want any attention drawn to the strikes and the WGA and SAG and all that stuff. So yeah, it just wasn't a good situation overall. And you could tell that this was bothering Drew for a long time and all through last week, that she herself decided to put out a video explaining her reasons behind it all and kind of apologizing for her choice in returning to her talk show. Now, I haven't watched this video yet, so let's watch it together and let's, react to it.
I believe there's nothing I can do or say in this moment to make it okay. I wanted to own a decision so that it wasn't a PR protected situation, and I would just take full responsibility for my actions.
Okay. I first of all, I love how she kind of downplays herself. Like, look, she has no makeup on. It looks like she just woke up. She's in kind of her PJs and all that. And she's doing that very kitty like, this is really hard, guys. And, this is my choice and I'm taking full responsibility here. So this is really me. Like, she's really playing the sympathy, role here, which we've seen Drew do before. I mean, she's really good at doing that. And we've seen her doing that in her acting as well, But if you've watched some of her shows, you could see how emotional she gets, how she gets very close with her guests, who most of them are her friends to begin with, but how she pleads with the audience, how she takes everything to heart and everything is emotionally, charged and all that stuff. So it's I feel like it's full on right now. It's really, really interesting and fascinating to watch.
I know there's just nothing I can do that will make this okay for those it is not okay with.
Also, you notice like her eyes are all puffy, so you could tell that she's been crying a lot. So, hey, look, whether or not she's coming from a good place, which I do truly think she is, I think just overall she wasn't really thinking clearly. I'm sure she is very hurt by the backlash that transpired after her decision was made.
I fully accept that. I fully understand that. There are so many reasons why this is so complex.
But it's not complex.
And I just want everyone to know my intentions have never been in a place to upset or hurt anyone. It's not who I am.
All right. Well,
I've been through so many ups
why?
and downs in my life. And this is one of them.
Oh, see, there you go. See, she's bringing back the history of all of the stuff that she's been through. And now she's equating this to another thing that's happened in her life. I think at this point, she's dragging on too much about all of this. We just want to hear, one, why did she make the decision, right? And two, if there was some other force forcing her to make this decision, and who knows? I don't know if she would ever admit to that, but I think at the end of the day, we just want to know why she thought this was a good idea. And if she spoke to anyone prior to making this choice, because I feel like a lot of that is very unclear.
I deeply apologize to writers. I deeply apologize to unions. I deeply apologize.
Dramatic pause.
I don't exactly know what to say because sometimes when things are so tough, it's hard to make decisions from that place. So all I can say is that I wanted to accept responsibility.
Okay, you have. Can you please now explain why this is all happening, right? I feel like this is what everyone wants to know. This is turning into just an apology. It's like kind of, I'm sorry that I hurt all of you guys. I'm sorry I made this choice. That's it. Let's continue.
And no, I don't have a PR machine behind this. My decision to go back to the show, I didn't want to hide behind people. So I won't. And I won't polish this with bells and whistles and publicists and corporate rhetoric. I'll just stand out there and accept and be responsible.
Here we go.
There's a huge question of the why.
Yes.
Why am I doing this?
Yes, please, why?
Well, I certainly couldn't have expected this kind of attention.
Okay, how can you not expect this type of attention? I mean, you have decided to be the first person to say, you know what, I think I'm going to continue my show. Even though I myself am a member of SAG, plus my show hired union writers. We stopped production ever since the strike started. So I'm just going to continue now after all this time. How can you not think that that was not going to get in this type of attention? I mean, that's very, very unfortunate that she was not thinking that. It's so bizarre.
We aren't going to break rules and we will be in compliance. I wanted to do this because, as I said, this is bigger than me and there are other people's jobs on the line.
Okay, that is very key, and I do agree with her. And again, if this is coming from a heart where she's thinking about the crew members who are also affected by this, and I think that's one thing that not a lot of media outlets are giving enough attention to. Because yes, writers aren't working, so they're not earning money, they're not getting paid. The actors, they're not working, they're not getting paid, at least those who are tied to projects that are under the AMPTP. Like I said before, independent studios who were able to strike a kind of a momentary, an interim agreement to continue productions with the unions. They're still going forward with stuff, but majority of them aren't working right now. You know, the one thing that is not being talked about the most is crew. Those people who are tied to all of these productions, whether it's TV, movies, all that stuff, they are now jobless. They can't do anything right now. And I'm talking about like the carpenter workers, you know, the stage hands, the sound people, the cameramen, the makeup artists, the wardrobe people, lighting people, all those people involved in these productions, they're not working right now and they are heavily affected. So if her main reason, or one of her main reasons, is to come back because she wants those people to get a job again, to start working and earning and to support their families, then that's awesome. And if that was her only reason, that's perfect. And I would totally understand that. And I'm sure a lot of people would be behind her on that. But I feel like that's not the main reason. So why don't we continue to watch and see what else she has to say.
And since launching live in a pandemic, I just wanted to make a show that was there for people in sensitive times. And I weighed the scales and I thought, if we could go on during a global pandemic and everything that the world has experienced through 2020, why would this sideline us?
All right, that doesn't really make sense to me, because on one hand, going live during a pandemic was a bold move and was kind of brave, but it was also during a time where all of us were all stuck at home and we were looking for so many outlets for entertainment, right? Because most of us were not expecting things to last as long as they have. So people were going to watching a lot of streaming shows, watching a lot of movies from home, watching YouTube and all that. So the constant need of content was there because people were looking for ways to entertain themselves and get their minds off of what's happening in the world. So for her to go live and provide new content, that was very important at that time. Now, it's not so much important right now, because even though SAG and WGA, they're on strike, that really truly does not affect people like myself, people like you, because there's an abundance of content out there that we like to watch and that we can still watch, and new stuff is still coming out. But at the same time, we're not in strict guideline rules as things were during that time, where people are going out, you know, they're touching grass, they're meeting friends, they're hanging out, they're traveling again. So there really isn't that pure need for content. So that truly doesn't make sense, unless she's thinking, you know, people who are affected, like, you know, the SAG members and the WGA members, they need new stuff to watch, and I want to provide their entertainment for them. If that's what she means, then that's also very, like, short-sighted, because who cares? Like, you know, I'm sure they don't want to be watching this kind of stuff right now either. They just want some sort of resolve out of everything. So that, I will say that I don't believe in that argument, or it's coming from a place that's not really fully thought out. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So I want to just put one foot in front of the other and make a show that's there for people, regardless of anything else that's happening in the world, because that's when I think we all need something that wants to be there, being very realistic in very realistic times.
Again, it just doesn't correlate, because it's a different time. It's not the same. Yeah, so that was the gist of the video that she posted on Instagram and social media. And of course, it was accompanied by a lot of backlash, and a lot of people spoke up about it. So much so that on September 15th, this is already Friday of last week, we are fully like 5 days into all the stuff that's been happening. You know, her production did restart, so they started filming last week. Other shows were following suit. She decided to release on Thursday this apology video or have you. And after hearing backlash from, and you know, criticism from people like Alyssa Milano, Bradley Whitford, and a whole bunch of other people, Drew Barrymore has decided to remove her video from Instagram. So she gave it out, she put her heart into it, and then all of this stuff started, you know, coming out. People are talking about up against it, and she decided to delete her video. I'm pretty sure she started getting a bunch of phone calls from her friends, from her family, saying that this just does not put out a good message. It kind of makes her look not stupid, but just unsympathetic with the efforts of the strikes going on right now. And I think, like I said, when I was watching it, some of her reasonings behind it were just not really fully thought out and just didn't hold that kind of gravitas like it should have. So the week pretty much ended with things still happening and moving forward, and people were going into the weekend expecting that on Monday, we were going to get a brand new episode of the Drew Barrymore show, along with a new episode of The Talk. And then news broke on Sunday that, you know what? On second thought, let's hold off on all that for now. So going back to The Hollywood Reporter, Drew Barrymore, The Talk is pausing talk show returns amid strike pushback. So basically, if you scroll down, it shows the screenshot, the screen grab of her Instagram post, where she says basically, I have listened to everyone and I am making the decision to pause the show's premiere until the strike is over. I have no words to express my deepest apologies to anyone I have hurt, and of course, to our incredible team who works on the show and has made it what it is today. We really tried to find our way forward. And I truly hope for a resolution for the entire industry very soon. Now, the people of The Talk pretty much put out a similar statement saying The Talk is following in the footsteps of the Drew Barrymore show. In a statement, CBS said The Talk is pausing its season premiere scheduled for September 18th. We will continue to evaluate plans for a new launch date. Now, going back to this article here, a spokesperson for the Drew Barrymore show shared a statement that read, "We support Drew's decision to pause the show's return and understand how complex and difficult this process has been for her." Now, if you remember those people who were asked to leave the taping of her show because they were wearing pins supporting WGA and the strikes, this article quotes something that one of them said as they were exiting the building. Quote, it really has changed my perspective on her and the show in general. Carter told THR, "I've been completely alarmed and disheartened by this whole process." So after this announcement, after The Talk decided that they were pausing, then slowly news started flowing in all through Monday of this week from Jennifer Hudson's show, Bill Maher, all stating that they were also pausing and pushing back their relaunches until talks further continue and a resolution has been solved. And funny enough, it was announced that WGA and the AMPTP will reconvene negotiations this Wednesday, September 20th. Was this the reason behind them holding back on their relaunches, or was there some other stuff happening? My personal opinion, I think everyone was reaching out to Drew Barrymore. You could see in her video, she was already just distraught and hurt by the whole thing. I'm sure tons and tons of her friends, her colleagues, union members were all talking to her and pleading to her and maybe possibly saying like, look, if this continues and you don't stop, this could further help yourself in the industry. Maybe her membership to SAG will be revoked. Maybe the WGA will tell its members never to work on her show when things have been resolved and things are back on pace and on schedule. There could have been a whole lot of other things and tons of backlash that would have came about if she continued to move forward with her show. Who knows what would have happened, but I think it is very timely that it was also announced that the WGA was going to, continue their talks and negotiations with the studios to see if a resolution can be solved. I'm hoping it can. However, based off, what we've seen recently with talks that's been happening in the last couple of months, I just don't think the studios are there yet to want to adhere to the demands and the things that are required for WGA to agree to any kind of agreements moving forward. As for Drew Barrymore, the backlash and all that stuff, this industry, it takes a long time for people to be forgiven for things that they've done. I think she made a smart choice to hold back and to kind of push back her relaunch of the show. But everything that transpired last week is already in people's minds and caused a huge bunch of backlash for her, not only within the industry, not only within the unions, but also in the general public. For those of us who've been very sympathetic with the unions and their strikes and the demands and the needs that they've been looking to achieve. Myself personally, I think Drew is just a victim of her own self. I don't think she really fully realized and thought, thoroughly what her choice and decision was what kind of effect that was going to have. I do believe her when she said that she had no idea that this much attention would be brought to it. I believe her because I do believe she doesn't believe that. She couldn't foresee this happening. But of course, me personally, I'm just like, how can you not? This is such a big deal. And tons of people were going to speak up against this, because it goes against everything that everyone has been fighting for. And I do think a lot of this choice of hers came from a good heart inside. I really do feel she's empathetic to the workers on her show, the people involved in the union, everything that everyone is fighting for. I do believe she is very empathetic about that. But I think at the same time, she probably just wants her show back. She wants to be out there. She wants, in her mind, to be that entertainment, that image, that voice to bring happiness to the lives of people. If you've seen segments of her show, she's always like promoting self-happiness and spreading love and joy and you know, appreciating all of these things. And she makes herself kind of like the spokesperson of all of that. And I really truly feel like she thought she could be that guiding light for everybody. But unfortunately, this is a different time right now. We aren't in 2020 when things were really dire and people were in need of that connection, that personal connection with people. We're in a year now in 2023 where people are going out. People are traveling. People are reconnecting with friends and family. Yeah, things are starting to be on the rise again, and things are looking kind of weird and dangerous when as far as numbers are concerned. But we aren't in the same situation as we were back in 2020 and 2021. So there isn't that need for constant content. In fact, I feel like there's a need to hold back on content because maybe there's just too much content out there depending on what people are watching and consuming at any given time. But yeah, that is the saga and drama behind the whole Drew Barrymore incident and things that transpired within the week that was entertainment. I'm curious as to what your thoughts were about the whole thing. Were you following the news about it all? What are your thoughts on Drew's decision? And if you think she made a good decision at the end of the day by canceling the restart of her show, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinions about it all. And of course, I thank you so much for watching. Or if you're listening through your podcast platform of choice, thank you for tuning in and joining me. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget, hit that like, follow, subscribe, notification bells so you get notified every time a new video or piece of content is uploaded onto the channel. If you have the means, comment, like, give a great rating on podcast platforms that you're using. Help spread the word and, you know, help the algorithm, help people and audiences find this type of content because maybe it's something that they will enjoy, just like hopefully you do too. Also, don't forget to check out the description of this episode to see how you can further support the channel, whether it's through checking out the merch shop and buying a shirt or a sticker, or checking out any of the affiliates that we have partnered up with. Maybe there's something nice for yourself or for someone that you know, and by participating, you will be helping support this channel. So with all that said, thank you so much for the talk. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, and I will catch you all in the next one. All right, peace out, y'all.